You don't really work anyway. It's just that silly online stuff. My sister Amanda's voice echoed through my home office as she casually spread her files across what used to be my desk. I stood in the doorway, still dusty from helping our parents move into their new condo, and watched her wipe away every trace of my presence like I was a tenant being cleared out. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 34. I just spent the weekend knee-deep in family drama, only to come home and find Amanda had taken over my workspace without even asking. The writing nook I'd lovingly curated, my books, my typewriter, my vision board, was buried under real estate brochures and her top seller plaques. Amanda, this is my office, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice from shaking. I work here. She didn't even look up. Oh please. Blogging isn't real work. Have clients, deadlines, actual responsibilities. Mom and Dad agree. I need the space more than you do. Course they did. Amanda was the golden child. The real estate powerhouse with the luxury SUV and perfect hair. I was the quiet one who played online. What they didn't know, because I never bothered to explain, was that my so-called silly blog had a loyal audience of over 200,000 readers. Paid my bills. It bought this house. Built my life. You can write anywhere, she added, now hanging her sales awards on my wall. Use the kitchen table or something. I need a professional space for client meetings. I watched as she dumped my books into a box, replacing them with her glossy motivational posters. My sanctuary was vanishing before my eyes. Did it occur to you to ask me? I said, grabbing my vintage typewriter before she could shove it into a closet. Mom said you wouldn't mind. You never mind, Sarah. That's your thing. Always agreeable, always accommodating. She gestured around. Besides, this is the best location for my business. Right in the center of my target market. I clutched my typewriter tightly. And what about my business? Amanda laughed, sharp and familiar. What business? Writing little stories online. I'm doing you a favor. Maybe this'll push you to get a real job. I thought of the email waiting in my inbox. The one from a major publisher offering a 6-figure deal to turn my blog series into a book. The speaking engagement lined up next month. The workshop I was supposed to host. In this very room. But standing there watching her take over, I saw everything clearly. They'd never truly seen me. To them I was just Sarah. The nice one. Pushover. Took a breath. You know what? I said calmly. Keep it. Amanda blinked. Seriously. Seriously. You're right. I can work from anywhere. I grabbed my laptop bag and walked out. The office is yours. She stumbled over her next words, caught off guard. I'll need the keys too. For meetings. Without hesitation, I pulled the office key off my ring and handed it over. Just lock up when you leave. As I walked out, I heard her calling Mom. She just gave it to me, just like that. Told you she didn't need it. What Amanda didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd stopped needing their approval a long time ago. At my favorite coffee shop, I opened my laptop. The publishing contract was still there, waiting for my signature. So was that real estate listing I'd been eyeing. Something perfect for a private writing studio. Maybe it was time to show them exactly what silly online stuff could do. Over the next few weeks, I watched from the kitchen table as Amanda transformed my office into a sleek, soulless sales den. She installed a glowing LED sign with her name, replaced the cozy decor with bland furniture, and paraded clients through like it was her personal showroom. She's already closed 3 deals in that office, Mom beamed at family dinner one night. Isn't it great to see that space finally being put to good use? I just nodded, poking at my pasta. Amanda, full of herself, added, Actually, I'm thinking of expanding. That spare bedroom upstairs would make a great conference room. Choke. That's my bedroom. She waved dismissively. Well, you could move into the guest room. This just makes more sense. Dad, tell her it makes sense, she said. But before he could speak, I stood. I have some news of my own, I said. Amanda smirked. Did you finally get a real job? I pulled out my tablet and slid it across the table. On the screen, A publisher's weekly article announcing my six-figure book deal. "Remember that silly online stuff I've been doing?" said voice steady. "It's about to hit bookshelves nationwide." The room fell silent. Forks paused midair. Amanda's face drained of color as she snatched the tablet. This has to be a mistake. 6 figures. For a blog. For a novel series based on my blog, I corrected. There's also talk of streaming rights. But you just write stories, Mom whispered. I've been writing professionally for 5 years, I said. You just never asked. Amanda looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. I smiled and leaned back in my chair. Let her keep the office. I was building something bigger. I explained calmly but clearly. That silly online stuff. It paid off my mortgage, fully funded my retirement account. I paused and allowed myself a small, knowing smile. And Jess helped me purchase the Maxwell building downtown. Amanda's head shot up. The Maxwell building. The prime commercial space I've been trying to buy for months. The very same. I couldn't help the quiet satisfaction in my voice. Renovations start next week. I'm converting the top floor into a writer's retreat and creative workshop. Dad finally found his voice. But sweetheart, that building must have cost less than the advance on my publishing contract, I replied, standing up. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with my contractor. Driving to the Maxwell building, my building, I couldn't stop smiling. The look on Amanda's face when she realized I'd snagged her dream property. Priceless. But this wasn't about revenge. This was about finally being seen. Maya, my contractor, was waiting out front, blueprints in hand. We'd spent weeks planning every detail of the transformation. Floor-to-ceiling windows to flood the space with light, restored hardwood floors full of character, and panoramic city views designed to spark creativity. Ready to make some magic? Maya asked, unlocking the door. More than ready, I replied. As we walked through the dusty floor, laying out plans and sharing ideas, my phone buzzed with texts from my family. I ignored them. For once, I didn't owe them an explanation. Amanda had taken my home office, thinking she was putting me in my place. Instead, she pushed me into building something bigger, something mine. The writer's retreat would be more than a workspace. It would be a sanctuary. A place where writers felt seen, heard, and respected. Oh, by the way, Maya said as we wrapped up our walkthrough. That real estate agent's been calling again. Says she has a serious buyer. I didn't have to ask who. Tell Amanda, I said, smiling. The building's not for sale. Not now. Not ever. Maya grinned. Will do, boss. As I stood by the window, watching the sunset drench the skyline in golds and pinks, peace settled over me. Sometimes, the most powerful response to being underestimated isn't confrontation. It's quiet success. The kind that turns heads. The kind they can't ignore. Another message buzzed in. Amanda, we need to talk about the Maxwell building. I have clients interested in leasing the top floor. I typed back one line. Sorry. The silly online writer is busy creating something real. Then I set my phone aside and got back to work. 3 months later, I stood in the completed retreat as soft morning light poured through the windows. Everything had come together. The cozy writing nooks, the local coffee bar, the intimate meeting rooms. It was even better than I'd imagined. My vintage typewriter, the one Amanda nearly tossed aside, sat proudly in the entryway, framed by the first printed copies of my novel. What once symbolized hobby was now legacy. The grand opening was today. Despite my attempt to keep it quiet, the buzz had spread. Local media was covering it as the blogger who built a creative empire. Kate, my assistant, appeared at my side. Ms. Mitchell, your family's here. Turned slowly. There they stood, Mom, Dad, and Amanda, lingering awkwardly just inside the entrance. For the first time, they were the ones unsure of where they stood. And I was exactly where I was meant to be. Amanda's face was a study in contrast. Pride, regret, disbelief, as she took in the space she'd once fought so hard to buy for herself. The very space I now owned. Sarah! Mom's voice cracked slightly as she clutched her purse. This is incredible. It really is, Princess, Dad added, glancing around in awe. Why didn't you ever tell us you were capable of all this? I tried, I said softly. For years, I tried to show you that my writing was more than just silly online stuff. You just didn't want to see it. Amanda stepped forward, her designer heels clicking against the gleaming hardwood floors. About the office, she began. I may have been a bit. Keep it, I cut in gently. Consider it a reminder of what you thought I was capable of. This, I gestured to the vibrant open space around us, filled with books, soft light, and quiet creativity, is what I actually achieved. Before anyone could respond, Kate reappeared at my side. The reporter from City Times is here for your interview. I didn't miss the way Amanda's expression faltered. City Times, the very outlet she'd tried for years to get featured in. Her face tightened as I turned to go. Feel free to look around, I told them. The coffee bar's open. And there's a copy of my book waiting for each of you at the welcome desk. I paused, then added with a small smile. It just hit the bestseller list. Behind me, I heard Mom whisper. Did she say bestseller? The interview went better than I could have imagined. The reporter was fascinated by my journey. From anonymous blogger to best-selling author and founder of a creative sanctuary. When she asked what motivated me, I told the truth. Sometimes, I said, being underestimated is the best reason to succeed. Later that afternoon, as writers filled the space around me, sipping coffee, trading notes, lost in the hum of creation, Amanda approached again. I've been thinking, she began, fidgeting with her bracelet. Maybe we could collaborate. Your platform and my real estate experience. There's opportunity here. I shook my head gently. Amanda. This space isn't about deals or sales. It's about meaning. About honoring the things you once called silly and worthless. I met her eyes. But keep the office. Meant it. Let it remind you how you treated my dreams, and then look up at this building, my building, and remember what those dreams became. She didn't argue, just nodded, eyes downcast. Moments later, she left with our parents quietly trailing behind. But something had shifted. For the first time in my life I saw it, respect. Not that I needed it anymore. I'd stopped seeking their approval the day Amanda hijacked my office. As the sun dipped below the skyline, painting the city in soft oranges and purples, I curled up in my favorite corner of the retreat, laptop open. Writers surrounded me, their fingers tapping, ideas flowing. This was it. Not just a space for myself, but a home for dreamers like me. My phone buzzed. Amanda, I'm sorry. I really am. Your success. It's incredible. I should have seen it sooner. I smiled and typed back. Me. Sometimes the smallest office leads to the biggest dreams. Thanks for pushing me out of mine. I set the phone down and turned back to my work, watching the city lights begin to twinkle through the tall windows of my creative sanctuary. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't about proving someone wrong. It's about building something so extraordinary, they have no choice but to look up. The writer's retreat quickly became the talk of the city, featured in magazines, blogs, and creative circles. But more importantly, it became proof of what happens when you refuse to let others define your worth. Amanda kept my old office. But I found something better. My voice, my space, and the quiet, lasting satisfaction of turning silly online stuff into something extraordinary.